First thing I'd like to know tonight is how many of you all were able to even get a part of your assignment done for last week? Oh, wow.
Chapter 11?
Wow. And
you were the one that had it done.
Really?
Yes.
And
I
this,
think if my husband and I had to split it, I'd have read chapters 1 through 11, and then he read 12 through 28.
Then it would have been complete.
well, I must confess, I forgot about the assignment until Sunday morning. And Sunday morning, sitting in church, it dawned on me that I needed to read the whole book of Matthew before Wednesday night. And so I started reading after the service, and I did finish it this morning. I never assign my students a challenge assignment like this unless I do it myself. For those of you that are new in the class, joining us for the first time, what I ask the students to do is to read through the Gospel of Matthew this week, the whole book in 7 days, and then to begin praying for your children. When I did this with seminary students, I asked them to read Ephesians 50 times during the semester. And I actually had seminary students when they wrote up their evaluation, and it was a challenge assignment, so about half the class did it. I had students say that this is the first time in their life that they had ever read a complete chapter, or no, a complete book in the New Testament or Old Testament in one sitting. So what I'd like to do this evening, just to kind of get us started, those of you who did the challenge assignment, or maybe you were just able to get through 12 chapters, what impressions or things that you learned would you be willing to share with the group? Anything jump out? I'll share what I learned this time around, but I'd love to hear from you and give you an opportunity to speak. Somebody I know.
I don't want to say it. I guess the bit, what I really enjoyed about it was all the references, I mean, even from the very beginning, back to the Old Testament.
That's right.
You know, and we hear that all the time, and I know I tell my third graders all the time, you can read it in the New Testament, you're going to find it in the Old Testament, but to really read it and actually go back and read every little thing that it referenced was just amazing.
As
Gee.
prophesied by Isaiah. As
Yeah, I
prophesied
loved
by
it.
Isaiah.
Yes.
And then I went back to Isaiah and read, you know, what it was, and I felt very blessed by doing that.
Good. And the thing that helps us understand is that Jesus was a student of the Scriptures. He knew the Old Testament. And so often he was quoting different people in the Old Testament. So that is a very, very good thing. All right, someone else. We won't spend a lot of time on this, but I'd love to get your impressions. One of the things about the book of Matthew is that it's the most Jewish of all of the four Gospels. In this particular Gospel, Matthew was writing his perception of what Jesus had to say, and Jesus was speaking out mainly to the scribes and Pharisees, the Jewish people. And as we go through the different Gospels, what you'll find is that the Gospels have different slants. And so in this one, remember how Jesus kept saying, "You blind guides, you hypocrites." Over and over and over again, he would say that. And that's because when Jesus was doing his ministry on this earth, he was working with several different levels of people. One of the levels was the scribes and Pharisees, who literally knew the letter of the law, and they were trying to their best to get the people to follow the letter of the law, but they did not have a relationship to God. It was all legalistic. And so Jesus was dealing with them because they followed him around constantly. Now, another level that Jesus was working with were the 12 apostles, the people that he called out, that were going to be the ones that would carry on the message of the gospel after Jesus died on the cross and went to heaven. These men were with Jesus all the time, watching everything, questioning everything. Did you notice how these men were saying, why did you talk in this parable to these people? Why couldn't you just come out and tell them what you're wanting them to know? So they listened to what Jesus had to say. Now, the third level of people were those that were absolutely enamored by all the miracles that Jesus was doing. And the people would come from surrounding parts, and they would bring the sick and the bereaved and the people that were possessed by demons, asking Jesus, "Will you heal these people?" And so Jesus was working with 3 different levels of people constantly. But the major focus of Matthew was on the Jewish religious leaders. Okay, somebody else. Anybody else see anything that they want to share? Yes.
I noticed as he was calling his disciples, and he would just say, follow me.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up your things and follow me. He didn't say, if you want to, or when it's
Let's talk
convenient
about
for
it.
you.
Yeah.
And several times as he went through all those callings, you heard one saying, but wait, I've got to, bury my father, or, and one's like, wait, I've got this boat and all these fishermen, and I've got all this stuff to get done. And he didn't waver, he just said, follow me, like now.
Right.
Let somebody else
Absolutely.
handle all that. And that kind of struck me as I was trying to kind of find some parenting pieces in that. I kept thinking of that obedience, just do what I say.
Absolutely.
I say to you.
Now-
The right heart attitude.
Now, what you have hit on is an extremely important thing, because we're going to end our session tonight with another video clip from Crown Ministries. And the word in that video that is paramount is obedience. So you have identified one of the key things that I want to stress in this. Now, last week, we ended our session with a video clip about a widow who had absolutely nothing, and the debtors were on her doorstep. She had 2 children to raise. And remember, Elisha came to her out of her stress and turmoil. And he asked her one question. Do you remember what that question was?
What do you have?
What do you have? What do you have? So we ended this session last week asking to give to God whatever you have. And that's all he asks. Whatever you have in terms of time, energy, give that. Just give me what you have. And that's why I tried to help you understand that reading the Gospel of Matthew was not something that you had to do in order to participate. It was something that I was telling you is a challenge assignment. So what we're going to do tonight when we finish, if you haven't finished Matthew, please continue reading Matthew. But those of you who managed to finish Matthew, I would challenge you to pick up Mark and see what Mark has to say. And I will do the same thing. Because I also ended last week with a story of the young man who saw his father read the Gospels every month. First week, Matthew. Second week, Mark. Third week, Luke. Fourth week, John. And in all of this, he was able to say about his father, my dad was so godly that after 20 years of watching my father spend time reading God's Word, my father talked like Jesus, worked like Jesus, lived like Jesus, ministered like Jesus, and the things that angered Jesus angered my father. And that's one of the primary ways that we teach our children today. That is through modeling. Now, we also talked last week about a world view, and I gave you lots and lots of handouts that you may or may not have had an opportunity to read through. But a world view is something that we are all developing. Probably at this stage in life, you as adults have got a biblical worldview. It may not be biblical, but you have a worldview. And a worldview is defined as a way in which we look at the world. It's a lens through which we observe and make decisions about the world in which we live. And what our goal needs to be is to develop a biblical worldview, because every one of your children, regardless of the age, is in the process of developing their own worldview. By the time they're 10, they will have a worldview. It may not be complete, but they are learning constantly in this worldview. Now, what I'd like to do right now is to go to our PowerPoint, and we'll see the beginning of it again. And Laura, if you want to turn to the Deuteronomy 6, the first verse, and I'm going to move out of this way. and show you where we're going tonight. This is Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 9. And this is the command that God gave to all of us as parents. He said that we are to teach our children, love the Lord our God. The Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. And these commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts.